I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, real people, real conversations, and real success. And do you ever wonder, where you find yourself today in the life that you live? Is it really by your design? Is it really by your intention? And how passionate are you really in this very, very moment? I mean, are you really truly fulfilled? What about your legacy? Have you ever thought of that? Is it true that you are fulfilling that legacy in this very moment? Do you have that awareness that that is indeed what you are doing right now? Or how long are you going to wait to figure all of that out? So today is very special because this is about you. It's about your spiritual essence, your soul, the manifestation of all of that, who you are. And the truth is that anybody involved with their own personal growth, if they really understand what personal growth is, it really has to do with the spiritual growth. However you want to define that, that's very unique in your particular way. But getting to that space where you can have that alive soul is so critical. And it's one thing that's incredibly difficult to do on your own. And that's why you want to find this person that we're going to be talking to today. Because here's a unique individual from a very young age, knew what her life purpose was, and is truly manifesting in such a beautiful way, understands the fundamentals of what it takes to get you there, and then is giving you that gift so that you can experience it for yourself. So I'm very excited to be talking to Katerina Satori from Katerina Satori International, because she's the one that's going to help you manifest the life the way that your life is deserving. And so thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely, Bart. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a joy to be on your show. I love what you're creating, and here we are. The power is in this moment.
And it really is, because this is all about your favorite word as well as mine, and it is transformation. Every moment is a gift that we have that we can give to ourselves in being present, being in the moment, and realizing that we're undergoing this transformation. But the key is, how aware, how conscious, how intentioned is that transformation. And the truth is, and the reason for this platform, and this is my own personal experience, is that oftentimes we get stuck, we're blocked, simply because we don't know what we don't know. And that's where amazing people like yourself come into play. And that's why I'm excited to be talking to you, so that other people can find you, connect with you, you can change their lives, and then our planet changes in turn. So share with us a little bit first about your story, because I think this is very relevant, how you got to where you are today, because it gives you that the right to be what you do. It gives you the right to teach others because of your own experience. So share with us how it all started.
I love this expression that our life must be lived forward, but can only be understood backwards. So I really just, it's such a mantra for my life, because, looking back, I understand that when we come to this reality, we've been born in this world. As children, we have that deep sense of memory, that we here on the special path. And I had that sense of awareness very, very deep. When I was only 5, I asked my mom, what's my life purpose, And I was born in the Soviet Russia. My parents were complete atheists. There was no talk about spirituality, but I just felt that connection with the divine. And I had many esoteric gifts that were opening up very rapidly, like telepathy and clairvoyance and deep sense of intuition. I could read people's emotions really, really fast. And I also grew up in a very turbulent household. Very, very turbulent. Like, I grew up with 5 different stepdads, a lot of violence, a lot of uncertainty. And as a young child, I had to learn to read adults' emotions just to self-protect, where their mood changing, which was all part of my training, Bart. And this is what I teach others right now, to own every part of their life's journey, because every part of their life's journey prepares them for their true soul calling, for true soul mission. And it was the same for me. Like, I had very turbulent childhood, and I was searching for meaning in life. And I stepped into leadership positions at a very early age. At the age of 12, I was already a leader in school. It was just part of the calling. And I maybe I didn't see the thread of how it would connect, but I just trusted. I trusted. My path was all built on trust and on faith. And I left my home country when I was 17, and I began to explore the world. I lived in 3 different countries, and I had this prophetic knowing. It was a vision that I will build my life in the United States, and Russia was my boot camp. It's a boot camp for resilience. It's a boot camp of being really humble. When you have nothing, you realize you have nothing to lose, and you take different choices in life. So that's another lesson, just to honor, no matter where you came from, no matter how humble your beginnings, it's all how you look at it, what kind of a meaning you assign to it, and can you really turn your struggle into strength. And that's been my training. And then when I came to the United States, I became this crazy high achiever. And I started mastering life and business, and it was just obsession with goals and achievement and success. It lasted for 8 years until I crushed my body completely. And that's when my spiritual awakening really began. That archetype of a wounded healer, where you just try to pick your body from these broken pieces and restore. And I just started my own deep healing process, my own awakening process. And through that, I began sharing my process with people on social media. And my business kind of grew organically. People start resonating with authenticity and with just realness, because I didn't try to convince anybody to follow me. I would just say, hey guys, my body is falling apart. I'm learning how to get myself back on the feet, and I'm sharing with you the process because it's easier to do it than to be alone in it. And people start resonating and start coming to me for direction. And then what began as a wellness brand turned into a next level of brand and a next level of brand. And by this time, I've built 3 different brands, 3 different visions. And now I focus to really helping people on spirituality, on deep soul transformation, and really stepping into their leadership, stepping into remembering their soul mission. Because right now the planet is going through such massive transformation. We need more people who are living in alignment with their soul design, in alignment with their power, because then we transform the consciousness of the entire planet. I don't know if I gave you too much or too little. Where are you at?
No, it's wonderful. It's the only challenge is I have so many questions about so many things. We're going to have to talk for the rest of the day on this one. Because everything that you're saying is so relevant. And, what I respect so much about you, and, when we talk about our own spiritual presence and how that oftentimes is blocked with masks and things like that, oftentimes people are so focused on, trying to portray their idealized self. And that's just part of, how we are. I mean, there's no right or wrong about that. But what's interesting is that people are very reluctant to share their problems. And I think the reason you got so much traction is rather than saying how wonderful life was, you say, okay, my life is crap. It's falling apart and I'm doing something about it. Did I understand that correctly?
You nailed it, Bart. You nailed it. And I just did a really vulnerable video live stream last night. And, and I shared about my recent quote unquote failure with my community. And as an entrepreneur, I really take a stand for radical authenticity and radical vulnerability, because the last thing I would want to portray to the people who really, look up to me or aspire or they inspired by what I share is this image that, success is this straight line. No, sometimes success, it's not moving forward, but actually it's taking a giant step back and reevaluating your entire path in trusting redirection. And the more I shine light on the realness of this process, the more people don't feel alone when they're going through that, because we're all on hero's journey, Bart. We're all on hero's journey, right? It's like that book Alchemist that I love so much, Paulo Coelho, when he talks about when the alchemist goes through all these different tests. And remember how his trials would get more and more intense, the more closer he would get to his goal, to his treasure. And that's what I want to shine light on. So people know it's a part of the process, so they don't get crushed after the first thing that doesn't go well,
Yeah, and I think you're hitting it on the nail too when you say, look, it's all about, finding that soul within you, bringing it to life, and not just attached to all the external success, because that's just external. It's not who you really are. And as long as we're so focused on the external, we never really find our fulfillment within ourselves. So then no matter what's happening around us, when we find that soul within us, then we're going to be great, even in the worst of situations. And that's what you found early on, obviously, because you recognized, and this is one of my favorite phrases, the worst times become your best times. And that's also a choice. And clearly you're making really wonderful choices so that you can get your transformation and be a light and model for other people. So before we go into your specific business entities, because I think that's really important, and I have a question on that one before we get started. I'd like to share a poem with you and the listeners as well. One that I think that is very relevant to what you just shared. You probably already know it, more than likely you already do. It's a poem by Rumi. And what's interesting is this was written, over 2,000 years ago, as much relevant as it was then, it is today. And it's The Guest House. Are you familiar with that one? You are, huh?
I love that one.
Yeah, this being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house. Empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in, and be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And you just described all of that in your introduction.
That poem is so powerful. It's timeless. It's timeless wisdom. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, Bart, I feel like the humor, I bring a lot of humor. And sometimes people see me like a total goofball, because when people are going through loss, major loss, and I can empathize with them, and I've been through a lot of loss in my life as well. And then I just kind of remind them that it's all the divine play. It's all the experiment of consciousness. It's a consciousness experiences itself, right? So then like that kind of a cosmic view helps me to lighten up in the process, right? To really lighten up in the process. And that's where the soul, that essence and connection to the soul is so incredible. And what you shared before, success without fulfillment is the most emptiest experience you can arrive to, especially as a high achiever identity. It's like you always live for that next moment of arrival, but it never comes. It never comes. And as long as you're looking outside of yourself to feel complete, or to feel happy, or to feel like you arrive, you never arrive. And it's a life, it's a waste of human potential, chasing the tail and never arriving somewhere. So, I carry this book, The Power of Now. Right. I had so much resistance to this book, Bart. I had so much resistance to it. I was like, this book is so simple. I don't know. It's not deep enough. And I wasn't ready for it. That's the truth. And I've been recently rereading it and just savoring every sentence, because it's all here. If we just learn to listen to the silence of our own soul and ask bigger questions, even for years when I was in the search for my purpose, for my dharma, I kept asking questions. Who am I? and why I am here. And that's it. And I just trusted what Deepak Chopra taught us. Keep asking the questions and the answers will eventually arrive. Yeah.
And another phrase, obviously you're aware of this one too, and another brilliant man and teacher for all of us, Tony Robbins. The quality of life is the quality of questions that you ask, and the better the question, the better the answer. And that's also true. And so as we go on the spiritual journey, and just for people listening in and some people who just joined us right now, talking to this amazing human being, Katerina Satori from Katerina Satori International, who's focused on our legacy, your legacy, and the fullness of who you are, your total potential in this world, and being able to manifest that. I mean, we incarnate in this world to go through all the different things that we need to learn so that we can become more, and ultimately as a contribution to the life force, to the universe, and everything else. And we need teachers, and that's my purpose in life, is to bring all these teachers like Katerina to you, so that she can then guide you and help you discover what it is that you really need to discover in life. So here's my question. So you've got these amazing 3 businesses, and I love the way that you're structured. I think it's very smart. It's, the 3-tier approach, and I believe in that completely. So let's say that if we take 100 people as a representative of humanity, right? So 100 people representative of humanity. How many people are truly embarking on the kind of work that you're able to offer them? I mean, how aware, what is your feeling as far as people ready and now embarking or already active in this process of their spiritual journey, and then finding people like you?
I look at it different levels of consciousness, and I would say, so I attract people who are the visionaries, who devour things like gene keys and human design and holographic universe and fractal universe, and they just devour it and they can process it. That's 10%. 10%. And out of 10%, only like 2% actually do something about it without just accumulating intellectual knowledge. So the first response came to me is 10%.
Right.
And I would say the good other 30% or 40% are at the crucial point of this shift. They got the transmission at 2012. They got the transmission at 2015, 2016, 2017. Is you have to be deeply asleep not to pay attention to what's happening in the universe, right? So I feel like a lot of people are disoriented emotionally, spiritually, and that's why my goal is to always to offer people hope and to offer people a possibility, to offer them tools. I do a lot of tools. I just share freely for free, give it to the community, how to become the master of the inner world. Because once you start anchoring that inner power and activating it and letting go, I do a lot of work with letting go, Bart, really helping people to let go of this outlived vibration. So I would say, 30-40% are on the critical mass, it's just, and then we also have souls that choose to leave this incarnation. They choose to leave the bodies, and this is happening. This is going to continue happening. It's a part of the process, and a lot of people are devastated by that, but it's a part of the process. Some souls will choose to leave this reality, and it's a conscious choice of the soul. And no matter how grieving it can be for us, I just lost a friend 2 days ago, a leader, and sometimes it's hard to comprehend, but it's a gift that they can leave to us, because then we really wake up. We really wake up and you say, what is my contribution? What is my contribution? And the legacy, it can be such a gigantic word for somebody. I keep it simple and I say, like Maya Angelou said, legacy is every life that you've touched. And I just add a dimension, is that legacy is your own transformation of your own consciousness. So you spent how many years you got on this planet, you're looking back and you ask yourself honestly, Did I really master the courage to look within? Did I look within, and did I embrace all these parts of myself? Did I forgive? Did I open myself to a new possibility? If you can answer those questions, then you've lived a good life. You've done your best. But if you never had the courage to look within, and it's only been the life of striving and the life of winning and the life of walking across other people, then it creates karma, and every action has a reaction to it, right? So we're living in the universe that every thought, every emotion, every feeling, every deed is registered, right? Registered. So we will be required to face our action, to face ourselves. And I don't believe there is hell or heaven. I believe there is, I believe there is a mirror of truth, which we will be invited to look deeply. And that's how the soul creates that deep wisdom, and awakening on the deep, deep level.
I totally agree with you. And I think the challenge that we have in this material world is that because of our limitations of language or perception, we see everything pretty much in a dualistic way. And when you reach that level of consciousness at the soul level, that dualism goes away. I mean, there's no right or wrong. There's just right. It just is. It's just life. And that's the beauty of it, because we use all sorts of extraneous tools to appreciate and understand the world, which makes sense because we have to relate to that in this physical, materialistic way. But we are so much more than that, because the soul never dies because it was never born. It's just there. And so I love what you're saying, because when we start, relating to that, our presence in that particular way, then, and as we let go of those blocks, of those masks, of the things that obstruct, our own awareness, then our full potential comes out. I mean, there is so much more within us, in all of us, that is just good. It's just great. And unfortunately, I think, it's that dualism that gets many of us confused. And when we start thinking of people who do bad things as bad people, as evil, and things like that, and understand, all behavior is really motivated by positive intent. And so what's important then ultimately, and this was in my journey, because my journey was one, I had a very great life. Very blessed. I grew up in 5 different countries, very well-to-do parents, lifestyle. It was wonderful. So I didn't have all these traumas. I didn't have all these struggles. But the truth is, we're all wounded in one way or another. As much as life might be totally wonderful, we are wounded. And coming into this life, it's just a matter of going through that process, getting to that higher level of consciousness. And it's up to people like you and myself to invite people in, to say, hey, you know what? Here's the process. Here's the path. And it's not easy, and it takes a lot of courage. And when you have brilliant people like yourself who can lead others, because that's what you need. We all need mentors and coaches that can help us through that process, to help us understand the truth. And there's so many books out there. One of my favorite books, I think I just lost it, is The Undefended Self by Susan Sasenga, based on the path work of Eva Pierrakis. Brilliant book. I practically have to underline every sentence because it's all very powerful. And so tell us a little bit about the structure of your 3 businesses, because I found that fascinating, because you're really targeting and engaging 3 critical niches or groups of people that really are benefiting from you.
Yeah, it just was a natural evolution. I structure my work in a way that people experience the work in different containers. So I will lead transformational retreats because there is a power in community. And I love the small intimate groups part, the power in 10, 15 people in a beautiful exotic location. Like next one is coming up in Kauai, and I just did the one in Tulum, and it's just powerful. I take people to these power centers, powerful places in the world where the nature helps to unlock the ancient memory of who they really are. They activate the soul codes. So that's the kind of a one pillar of the business, is live events, live interaction, live immersive experience, right? And then another pillar is really the mastermind program that I run, and it's mostly focused on leaders, on leaders, helping them in three key categories: enrollment, art of guidance, and art of leadership. And so I focus on all those areas, and I also serve the community around, usually once a month or a couple times a month. I will offer an offering that for a bigger group. Anybody can join. And that's where I really teach people how to become the masters of the inner world, of the inner world. So this is like the three containers that I work with, but and that keeps me stimulated, keeps me engaged, and brings the variety to others. Because when I started this business, I only went everything online, and that felt very one-dimensional for me. I love working with people in person. I run different private immersion, private retreats. It's just powerful because, when something happens when our auras interact, right? It's this magnetic exchange that's happening on a soul level that is just, it's tough to transfer that digitally, no matter how digital world makes it accessible, right? Do you agree?
I totally agree with you on that one. So as we're slowly wrapping it up, and I know we could, spend hours talking, and we certainly will in the future. I think one of the challenges that people face today, and also one of the incentives to actually go through that spiritual growth, is that we're so overwhelmed with all the information technology, and it's very distracting. There's a lot of temptation in so many different ways. And so people are looking for that authenticity. They want to find something that's real, that it's tangible. And which is also the reason I like my platform, because these are authentic conversations. These are new voices, new solutions, real conversations with real people and their real success. And so you can very quickly determine, either whether you resonate with somebody or they're not being authentic. And to be honest with you, everyone that I've had on this platform has been very authentic. And so the question that I have for you as we wrap it up is, how do you filter? How would you recommend people to filter some of the inauthenticity that's out there? How would you recommend for people who are looking for somebody, what's the criteria that they say, hey, you know what? I want to go to Katerina because of what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I really encourage people to get in touch with the wisdom of their body. I really focus a lot on intuition, because we had this huge split happening between the intellect and the heart. And I love intellect. I'm very intellectual. And at the same time, intellect is always designed to be the servant of the heart. So I always encourage people to spend time in solitude every day. Sometimes some people really struggle with meditation. I was one of them. I couldn't get on board with this meditation train for the longest time. But what I did do is I would go in these contemplative walks where I would just be with myself, be in the nature. And the nature doesn't lie. The nature is this pure channel. And if you leave your phone behind and just go for half an hour walk with no phone, where you just open your eyes, you start to register the messages from the body. And when you listen to somebody's transmission, you can check in with the body and say, even if I don't understand, even if it feels overwhelming, which could be just a story of the mind, right? Does it feel true? There is something in transmission that feels true. And I always say, trust that. and I'm just one of the messengers, because there are so many messengers, and you will recognize the ones that in alignment with your